Good afternoon, Canada. This is Aaron Bedard. I'm coming to you live from YouTube and Facebook live feed right here in Hubcast Media Studios, right here in the control room. And I just wanted to talk to you a few minutes about our upcoming June 3rd Canadian Walk for Veterans across Canada in 8 cities. And we're going to have the opportunity to broadcast it live on the day of. From right here at Hubcast Media, we'll have cameramen and interviewers in every city, every location, talking to veterans and showing you the events as they happen. And we'll also have 2 hosts live in the studio, or if the weather's really nice, in Coquitlam at the Coquitlam event here in BC. And that'll be Brian McKenna, one of our advocates from Equitas, and a very popular show host here in Vancouver, Fiona Forbes. It's going to be a very exciting event. I'm actually going to be going across Canada in the weeks ahead, going from St. John's, and then I'm going to be at the Ottawa and Kingston event. So please have a look at our page, give it a like, share our efforts, and please register for the walk if it's nearby. And if you're not, feel free to make a donation at equitassociety.ca on the Walk for Veterans page. In the meantime, I wanted to show you the video we put together weeks ago here at Hubcast Media that led to us working out to be able to broadcast this live on the day of. So here it is. Enjoy. Hey Canada, how you doing? My name is Aaron Bedard. I'm one of the plaintiffs with the Equitas lawsuit, and we're coming here to you today live on Facebook Live on the Canadian Walk for Veterans page that we've just launched last Wednesday on a soft launch. We're hoping that we can get another launch today and have you all share this and send it out to all the different veteran groups. I'm here live today with fellow members of the Equitas Society team, and people that you haven't necessarily seen before on live on Facebook. And I thought on our launch it'd be important to bring in some of the people that founded this. So right off the bat, Mark Burchell.
I'm Mark Burchell, president of the Equitas Society.
And Don Sorokin.
Hi, I'm Don Sorokin. I'm the lead counsel in the lawsuit.
And Holly Scott.
And I'm a mother of one of our veteran soldiers.
And one of the founding members.
One of the founding members, yes.
And on that note, can you tell us a bit about how this all got started?
Well, our son Dan was over on his second tour to Afghanistan, and he was in an accident, training accident, where one fellow was killed, Josh Baker, and Dan was severely wounded, taken out of Kandahar by airplane to Germany, and we didn't know that he was going to live. We waited for about 10 hours before we found out that he was actually going to survive his injuries. They were pretty severe.
Yeah.
Lost some organs, and took him a long time to recover, at least 2 years.
Right.
Very difficult for our family, not just us, but our friends and family, extended family, and it was really tough.
Yeah.
Really tough, very tragic time.
And to move up a little bit, you did eventually do a claim with Veteran Affairs Canada. And
well, yeah.
What was the reaction to that?
Stunned. We were totally stunned. Like, my background is injury adjuster for a major insurance company, and my job was to evaluate injury claims from car accidents. And what I saw he was getting for the loss of kidney and spleen and half of his pancreas was just so minute.
How much was it?
It was 46,000, I believe, somewhere in around there. And that just doesn't compensate somebody for those life-changing injuries. Now, he does still have his arms and his legs, but there's a huge health concern for lifelong for him, and especially with his pancreas. If it fails, then he will have extreme problems dealing with life.
So you and Jim were upset by this?
Completely upset, and Jim put together a binder and went around to our local MP, and he started visiting law firms and trying to get somebody who would represent Dan.
Okay, so...
And that's where Don came in.
So Don, can you tell us how you got involved?
Well, I actually got involved first through a neighbor's child, right, that I have known since he was carried home as a baby that served over there.
One of our fellow plaintiffs.
And one of the plaintiffs. And through that family, I was introduced to Jim Scott, your husband and Dan's father. And they came to me because I had quite a bit of experience in litigation since the 70s. I'd done big cases in construction, constitutional law, first Aboriginal residential school settlement, et cetera. So I think that they had gone to a number of lawyers beforehand that weren't as used to tilting at windmills as I am. And it was, it soon became apparent to me that this treatment of our veterans was horrible. I couldn't even imagine that you would get this number of 40,000, and I think it was something like 14 for Gavin.
Yeah, for a fractured femur.
Yeah, and you would, at that same time in our law firm, I knew that somebody had more than 45,000 just for spraining an ankle in a Safeway store or something, you know?
Right.
So we decided that to take it on, but to do that, I said to Jim, well, I could get a pro bono team together at what's a major law firm in Canada at the time.
Yes.
I've retired from it since then, but I got a team together, but I couldn't ask them to fund the disbursements. And I said, well, I can sell it to the firm that I can take this on pro bono as a cause and will involve young lawyers, but we need some way to fund the disbursements. And that's how Equitas got found.
And that's a court costs, administrative costs, legal experts if we go to trial. That's what disbursement is,
even
basically.
mundane things like photocopying and couriers and as part of our the way it's worked, we've had to do advocacy.
Yes.
Because we've had to
I've been doing a lot of it.
we've had to convince politicians that they should do the right thing.
Yeah, so you did a position paper right off the bat, very thorough one with help of Queen's University, a report, and went to MPs long before a lawsuit came along, but they didn't want to talk to you. You didn't get response from anybody, and you gave it to every single MP. So we filed November 30th, or October 30th,
to do something
2012, right?
Yes, and you had to do something to make them take it seriously.
Right.
So because the answer was from the government, we can do what we want to veterans. Okay. All these speeches about a social covenant are just that. They're just to make people feel good as we try to entice them into going to war.
Okay. So it's what, 6 years later now?
6 years.
And we've had an election. We've influenced election. We got some promises from advocates like myself, Brian McKenna, through some of the candidates. We did our best just before that with Aaron O'Toole when he was the minister. And we got into an abeyance agreement. We got a pretty good deal, it seemed, coming through the election, but they took us right back to court 6 months later. And but myself, Brian McKenna, and Mark Campbell have been on advisory groups advising directly to the minister. But unfortunately, they put us under a bit of a cone of silence with a confidentiality agreement, and it's just been a bit of a holding pattern. And veterans across Canada aren't happy with the way their mandate's been carried out, the way it's been delivered. It's been a little bit disingenuous, and it's all about proof in the pudding on what happens when it gets to the bureaucracy.
One of the big problems is that there's so much spin out there that people try to make it sound that there's a solution there when there isn't one.
Well, we're in a optics war in the court of public opinion right now, basically, with the new minister. He's a very savvy newsman, 13 years of live television, and he can get on the news quickly. And so we've had a real challenge. So we've had to come up with a way to be able to do public outreach, and that leads us to an idea you and Jim brought to the society with having a walk last year, and having Mark Burchell come in as president in the last year and a half. Can you tell us about the walk, our first walk last year?
Oh, you bet. So we decided that we needed to reach outside the community that we existed in. Equitas Society resided in South Surrey, White Rock, and we wanted to take it broader afield. So we organized our first walk for veterans in Central Park in Burnaby, a Vancouver walk. And we were hoping for some measure of success, something to build on for success, to roll it out in the future. And to our surprise, we had tremendous response. Well, first of all, we had over 200 people come out, and And you know, the other response building up to the walk was whenever we talked to somebody like a sign company or printers or food company or people that we needed in order to help organize the walk, the minute they found out it was for veterans, they said, well, there's no charge for it. We want to help. And they were honored to help.
And
so
you
anyway,
had some great notable people, local, help out with it.
John McComb from the CKNW John McComb Show came out and emceed it. And then we had Mark Donnelly, who's referred to as Mr. O Canada because he sings O Canada at the Canucks games. He came out and was honored to sing O Canada and Danny Boy, which had us all with lumps in our throats and tears in our eyes.
We had some MPs show up, one from Ottawa.
We had an MP, John Brassard, fly all the way out from Ottawa just to attend our walk. Finn Donnelly, who made the motion of a social covenant in the House of Commons, he came and spoke. We had the deputy mayor of Burnaby come and speak to us. And we had every major media outlet attend, and it was broadcast on TV stations on all of them.
Yeah, it was a great success.
It was a great success, and that motivated us to believe that, or gave us the ambition to roll it out across the country.
And how do you roll it across Canada?
Well, we send our man Aaron across Canada to reach out to the veteran community.
So for 5 years, I've been doing outreach across Canada on social media, and I'm connected to thousands of veterans. I've created a network of over 1,000 contacts, advocates, and people in government, people in vet orgs. So I can go to any town. I'm like Robin Hood. I got somewhere to stay in every town now in Canada. So I went from Halifax all the way back here to Vancouver, did a bit of a milk run, and held town halls and did a thorough presentation on my findings, doing advocacy, finding about the issues around transition, leaving the Canadian Armed Forces and dealing with the bureaucracy. And so I asked them in each town, can you bring a team together? Can you do a walk nationally this new year? And on June 3rd is the date we came up with. Peter Stauffer came up with the date because it's the Sunday just before the National Peacekeepers Day. So we let the winter go by, and then we started doing outreach in January to follow up with these people, and we got 8 firm commitments from 8 cities. And what are the cities?
They're Victoria, Vancouver, Edmonton, Ottawa, Kingston, Fredericton, Halifax, and St. John's.
Yeah. We have a lot of towns now
Coast
that
to
are
coast.
popping up going, what about Quebec? And what about Winnipeg? And what about everywhere? And 8 is enough for us. We're a small team, so we got to start somewhere.
That response is a good example of where this is going, because our long-term goal is to have this in every major city every year, right across Canada. And the fact that we have that level of enthusiasm with people that want to bring it to their city is just an indication that we're creating something that the veteran community wants to participate in.
Yeah, so.
It provides unity for all the veterans too. I
Well,
think that's a big
That's the
big
biggest problem I
issue.
found in 6 years is that we have little orgs all over Facebook, and you go to this Veteran Summit and you get representation from 150 different groups. And this goes right back to right after World War I. 1923, the Royal Canadian Legion was formed because there was over 180 different veteran groups in Canada that were all trying to push their own initiative from their own end, so they umbrella grouped them together. But we're in that situation again.
I think it also shows that the social covenant is not restricted to government. Your social covenant was between the people of Canada and those that serve it. And by getting all these people participating in the Walk for Veterans, you're showing community support.
We gotta
and
bring it
there
all
are
back
people that
together.
are going to be involved in that you can use to help our veterans when it becomes impossible to get the government to do so quickly enough. And you and I know the cases of need for shelter, et cetera, that if you go the bureaucratic route, you just don't get anywhere. But we now have a network of people that show they care.
Absolutely.
This kind of gives an opportunity for every single Canadian in the country to participate in something, not just on one day in the year, but the lead up towards remembering veterans.
Yeah, we have Remembrance Day, and it's hard coming back from a war. It's been 50 years since we've been in a war with Afghanistan, and the time change, the days get darker. You get all these war shows on TV right around that week leading up to it, and then you go into the dark time of year, and people, veterans have a hard time with going through Christmas. Then January, February, March are really tough, and it's a beautiful idea. And plus Remembrance Day, you have the vets marching in, and it's all silence and very formal, and then they march off and generally go and have a drink together afterwards, and there's not a good opportunity for the public to connect.
Yeah.
And being able to go for a nice easy walk in the spring leading up to summer, where you don't necessarily have to be in a suit and tie, maybe you're just in a shirt with your medals on,
Yeah.
is a nice way. And we're hearing a lot about young veterans coming off their service in the last 5-10 years that don't want to go to a Remembrance Day.
Actually, I wanted to ask you about that. Like, how does this walk benefit, or how does it affect people newly out of the military?
Well, my experience, I had a really hard time. I got a traumatic brain injury and PTSD, and it just took one connection with one person that made all the difference in the world for me, that got the ball rolling. And I want to see an opportunity with this walk where veterans can get out there and they might run into someone they know, or make a connection just walking with some member of the public that will open them up and get them out of their shell, because you build up this big suit of armor coming through transition, coming out of the forces, and the transition, it needs a little help, so.
This walk connects all Canadians together, because there isn't a Canadian anywhere that doesn't have some sort of connection with a veteran. And we're representative of that. Don, you had an uncle in the armed forces. You're the mother of a veteran. You are a veteran. My father was in military intelligence in the Second World War, and my father-in-law was in the Navy. Every single Canadian has a responsibility to make that connection and help our country's veterans.
Yeah. So long-term goals.
So the long-term goal is to have, as we talked about, to have this walk in every major city across the country. It's a time to acknowledge and thank veterans for their service and their contribution to making Canada the kind of place, the safe and secure country that we all enjoy. And the long-term goal is to do fundraising to raise the financing necessary to build a new veterans organization. I'll let you talk a little bit about that.
We have been doing a lot of network on that, and it's something that we want to frame off of the Iraq-Afghanistan Veterans Association down in the States. They've been around since 2006. Down there they have the numbers. They've got 9 million vets. They have 3 million that served in Iraq and Afghanistan, so they have about 450,000 members. Up here at Royal Canadian Legion right now, they have a 350,000 membership, but only 60,000 veterans out of 600,000 we have in Canada. So there is a big gap. There are a lot of vets out there that are not under an umbrella organization that is looking after all their needs and really focusing in on transition. And we're having a real big problem with advocacy, being able to have our own data. We hear things online, we hear a lot of bad stories, but we don't have it all brought together. So we need an organization framed off the Iraq-Afghanistan Veterans Association that can census the veteran community so that when we approach government doing advocacy or in the media, we have our own data.
And behind every one of those statistics that you hear from Veteran Affairs and behind all of the rhetoric are real-life stories of veterans, and we hear them all the time, and we hear the struggles that they face when dealing with the bureaucracies. And what the goal will be is to bring these stories so that because you can't, rhetoric has no place against fact. When you actually deal with somebody's real life experience, then you have something that counters just this vast emptiness of rhetoric.
This is an event that it's so important to be able to have a family event that veterans of all generations and kids, you brought your grandkids to the last one. We had a great time.
My grandkids were there.
It's for the kids to be able to come. And what are we going to have to give people when they register on equitasociety.ca?
So everybody, when you register online with at equitasociety.ca,
which one is it?
When you come out to the walk, everybody will receive a commemorative coin.
But you can't see it yet.
There'll be
really quick.
There'll be a collector's item that every year there'll be a new one, and it's a way just to remember and reminder of your contribution to ultimately to solving the problem and making the lives of veterans and their families that much better.
First annual Canadian Walk for Veterans. If you want to register for this event, you're already online connected to the web page. It's at equitassociety.ca, and it's on the Walk for Veterans page. And on the site, we also have all our information about the lawsuit and the effort that we've been making for the last 6 years, running our guts out up against the government.
That's right.
So
yeah.
if you have any questions for us, please feel free to leave a comment on the thread under this post, under this live event. And other than that, I hope to see you all on June 3rd, okay? Thanks for coming, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.